Hello, boys and girls. Hello, 3A. This is science, and we're still in chapter 12, the musculoskeletal system. Today, we're going to learn about joints. So you can take your books and turn to page 183, or if you want, you can just follow through the screen. Okay? Anyway, whatever you'll see in the screen, it's the same as what's in your book. So, joints. A joint is the connection between two bones. Okay, connection. Now, if you look at the word joint, notice that you have the word join within the word joint. When you say join, I want to join you, that means you want to connect with somebody. You want to be a part of it. So that happens to your bones too. And it's called a joint. Now, what are joints for? Or what's its function? You know, everything that God created has a purpose, no matter how tiny it is. Even the sand, okay, has a purpose. So joints allow the bones to move. Now there are three different kinds of joints. I remember this from third grade, okay? Now the first joint is these are the joints that do not move. These are what you call the fixed joints or immovable joints. The second kind is those that move slightly, and the third one is those that move considerably. Now, fixed joints or the immovable joints are those that do not move. And you will find that in your skull and in the pelvis. Pelvis. So here's a cute picture of the skeleton again. So this is your skull and this is your pelvis. I really want you to memorize the names of the bones, okay? Now, the bones that do not move are fixed. The joints that do not move are fixed joints, like those in the skull. Now, the skull is actually made of many bones that have fused together. If you will look at the picture, it looks like, one solid bone, but it's actually made of many bones and it came together. It's like it's stuck together. Now, when a baby is born, its skull bones are still separated. But as the baby grows, the bones grow closer together and they are joined by a fibrous tissue that eventually hardens and turns into bone. Wow. Now let's continue reading. The bones in movable joints, that means those joints that can move, are connected by ligaments. Now these are science words, okay? Ligaments are tough bands of tissue that connect bone to bone. Now, we're not talking about tissue papers or tissue rolls here. Now, I want you to look at this movable. This is an example of a movable joint. Now, the bones in these joints are held together by ligaments, okay? It keeps them in place. Ligaments, this white thing here that looks like a tissue paper, right? Okay, look, it says ligaments, it's labeled. These are made of tissue, and tissue is made of cells, which is the basic building blocks of living things. The cells in tissue work together to perform a specific function. Now, these ligaments are not just there to hold the bones together, they also prevent bones from being dislocated too easily. Now, both the knee and the finger have hinge joints. Hinge joints. Hinged joints move back and forth like the hinges on a door. So I want you to try to find a door and you will find that at the side there are hinges. Okay? Or if you can find a cabinet, I want you to open and close the door. Now there's a similarity to the door's movement and the way your knees bend. They both move back and forth. So these are what you call your hinge joints. Okay, it says here it moves back and forth like the hinges on a door. Okay, I hope you understand that. Now, the elbow, so where is this is the hinge joint, this one. Now, the elbow joint is a combination of a hinge joint and a pivot joint. Pivot joints allow bones to turn. A pivot joint permits the head to move from side to side. So here goes your pivot joint. Okay. I am so sorry. It's not a pivot, but I just checked the pronunciation. It's a pivot. So it's not a pivot. We say pivot joints. Okay. Pivot. So why don't you try to turn your head from side to side? Oh, feels good, right? Now, so this is an example of a pivot joint. So I want you to hold your arms straight out, okay? Palms down. Then I want you to turn your palms up. So the pivot joint in your elbow allows them to move this way. And then move the upper arm of your upper arm, okay, around in a circle. Now this time, if you move your upper arm out around a circle, okay, this is made possible by another kind of joint. So that joint in your shoulder is called a ball and socket joint, okay, because one bone has a rounded end that fits into a cup-shaped part on the other bone. Now let me show you the next page. Sorry, it's not in the next page, it's here. So this is the ball and socket joint, okay? So look at this bone, it has a rounded end and it's like received or it fits exactly to this socket or the cup shaped part of the other bone. Now the hips also have the ball and socket joint. Now, why do you think, why do you need these kinds of joints in your shoulders and hips? I want you to think. Okay, you need these kinds of joints in your shoulders and hips to walk, throw things, lift things, and even kick balls. So we'll look at the next page. So on page 184, I want you to look at this skeleton. You have to circle a hinged joint, a pivot joint, and a ball and socket joint. Draw a line from the joints to the correct words. What do I mean by that? Let's say a ball and socket joint. Okay, so you have to look at your skeleton. Let's say you think, okay, let me just and find my right annotation. Okay, so let's say I'm looking for a hinge joint, and we know that the knee is a hinge joint. So I'm going to circle the knee, okay? And then I am going to draw a line from the joint, from the word, okay, the correct word, the hinge joint, oops, sorry, and point to the bone. Okay, like not the bone, but the joint, okay? And do the same thing for the pivot joint. Try to find which is an example of a pivot joint, and then let's say you think the nose is an example of a pivot joint. So circle the nose and then connect it to the word pivot joint, okay? I'm sure you will not have a hard time, okay? And we'll continue with our lesson. So for page 185, you have muscles. It's not muscles, it's muscles. The human body has over 600 muscles. Muscles help the body move. They also give the body shape and protect the organs inside. So imagine if we don't have muscles. Now, most muscles are skeletal muscles. They are attached to the bones. Again, the skeletal muscles are attached to the bones. The movements that skeletal muscles make are called voluntary movements. Now, when you say voluntary movements, it means a person can control them. Voluntary movements include running, jumping, standing, and sitting. Now, I remember when I was in, I think, high school biology, okay, grade 8. My teacher taught me that skeletal muscles are attached to bones by tendons. We don't have a picture of tendons here. Now, this is how you spell tendons. Let me just write it here. Tendons. Okay, that's how you spell tendons. Now, these muscles perform all voluntary movements. I told you these are the movements that people can consciously control. Now, the skeletal muscles are also called striated muscles. Now, you don't really have to memorize this, but I'm just telling you this so that when you hear it, it won't sound French to you. So that's how you spell striated muscles. And they are called striated muscles because the light and it's because of the light and dark coloring of their long fibers that makes them look striped. Now, these muscles often work in pairs because they can pull but not push bones. An example of your skeletal muscle, or the tendon, sorry, is the one in the arm. Now, the biceps muscles pulls the forearm up and the triceps muscle lowers it. Okay, now there are a lot more words that you will encounter when you study biology. Okay, like the muscle contracts, the other one relaxes. But for now, what's important is that you understand what a muscle is and what a skeletal muscle is. So we are going to move to the next page. So this is what I was telling you, okay? The skeletal muscles are attached to bones with tendons. Okay, and muscles can pull but not push, so they often work in pairs. To raise an arm, the bicep muscles contracts or bunches up. At the same time, the triceps muscle relaxes or stretches out. Now, you have an exercise here. You have to draw arrows to show what direction the muscles pull the bones. Okay, now this is this is what most what most of those people who work out in the gym. Okay, now when they wanna show their muscles, they pull up their arms. Okay, so this is your like your arm, and they want to see the bulge. So in number one, your muscle pulls upward. Okay. Okay, and then number two, how does this muscle move? This muscle moves downwards. It pulls the bone down. You cannot pull the bone up, pulls the bone down. And number three, for these muscles, it pulls the knees upward. Okay, so this one, look at this bone. Okay, if this muscle this one pulls it up. Okay, this one goes up. That's the reason why. You see what's, okay, that's the reason why you can lift these bones up. This is your arms. Okay, it goes up. Now this is your head. Okay, it pulls your, see, if you raise your head, your chin will go up and the back of your bone, it goes down. Now that is made possible by this muscle. Now look at your thigh. Okay, if you want to pull your knee up, okay, this muscle makes it possible for you to pull your bones up. Without this muscle, you will not be able to pull your bones up. I hope you get that.